Coming to you from the LoadingReadyRun orbiting underground Moonbase, it's the LRRcast. And we are back at the LoadingReadyRun orbiting underground Moonbase. As you see, it is broadly speaking reassembled. At least everything you can see on camera.
Everything you could. Yeah, I was just gonna say. Don't go.
There's piles of rubble and debris on the other side of the camera.
You might be able to see the salt staining on the.
If you look real close, you could probably the white lines.
But you know how when you were 9 and you had to clean your room and you just pushed everything into the closet?
That's us, but it's the other half of the basement.
Reason. Yeah, a good reason for it. For those who don't watch Feed Dump or didn't hear us talking about it, there was a small flooding event here.
A flood occurred
in late October. So like 2 weeks before Desert Bus, which was great timing. Thank goodness we don't do Desert Bus here anymore. And
thank goodness the prizes were on the high side of the basement.
Yeah, basically the carpet in half of the basement got saturated because there was a really heavy rain, storm drain pump failed, and it came up through like a drain in the basement. And it was a whole thing. And it's being dealt with now by a pro remediation company, which is nice. They've had a dehumidifier down here running for like 3 weeks.
Yep.
But now we're back in here, so this feels good that we don't have to, do the audio only podcasts. Right? We did. We did do podcasts.
We did.
We did a week of audio only ones. So that's why those were anyway.
It's a whole thing.
We're back. And we're doing an AskLRR, and we asked you to ask us questions about Desert Bus. Because we figured it's just happened, even though it feels it feels like years ago.
It feels like 6 months and 2 days.
Yeah,
at the same time.
It's so weird. It's you lose time.
It's the body definitely still feels like it was like a couple days ago.
Oh yeah.
The mind is where it's just like, what, Desert Bus? That was like 6 months ago.
Yeah. But we're gonna put up some barriers and compartmentalize that. And
it has not even been a week. A week ago today, we were still doing Desert Bus.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. We were about 8 hours away from the end of Desert Bus this time, as of recording, 8 hours away from finishing Desert Bus.
Wow.
So not even 7 full days.
Crazy.
Yep.
I'm relating to what I was just saying. Our first question here from Jason is, if you were forced to either do Desert Bus in the OG Moonbase or never do Desert Bus again, which would you pick? And we decided, because we read this one ahead of time, that by OG Moonbase, they mean Moonbase Mark 1.
I assume so.
Which was a just over 200 square foot box.
Yep.
Yeah, we did Desert Bus 2 there.
Yeah, Desert Bus 2. It was long before volunteers or prizes. Actually, Desert Bus 2 was the first year.
One with prizes.
But all the prizes were basically one box that Matt got from EB.
And Harmonix gave us that copy of Rock Band.
That's right, and Harmonix gave us a copy of Rock Band.
That was what we did this year, or as is tradition now, the mystery box, where we draw from everyone who donated $5 or more over the course of the whole run.
Yeah.
That's how we gave away the copy of Rock Band at Desert Bus 2.
That's right. Yeah.
Basically, so if it was a choice between doing it there or never doing Desert Bus, we would do it there, but it would not look like Desert Bus does now.
No. It would be a very, very different Desert Bus. A much smaller Desert Bus.
It would look like
very little prizes, if any, Desert Bus. Maybe we would just have the mystery box. That's probably it.
It'd be smaller in scope.
Yeah.
Desert Bus 2, but in HD.
Yeah, it would still look really good.
Well, I mean, you could see things quite clearly. Whether it looks good
is we would actually have to build a box to do it in, because that building no longer exists.
Yeah.
So that's another small
I have
problem.
no interest in building a tiny box to live in.
No. All right, next question.
2812 Aaron asks, how long did it take to set up all the computers and cameras, etc.?
About a week.
Yeah.
We moved in the Saturday. The official move-in day was Saturday before we started. And basically starting that well, we didn't actually start setting anything up tech-wise until the Sunday. I think, like, gun to our head, we could probably get the whole system set up within a couple days. But
probably, but
it would be
Like
It'd be tricky.
Johnny puts in a lot of hours in that week.
If we had like more people on hand, I'm pretty sure we could do it in a couple days. But because we have the lead up time, we gave ourselves basically a week to get everything ready. We took basically a week, and we were improving things as we went. Right, things were changing during the actual run. So technically, we never finished setting up the tech side of things.
You can never truly be ready for Desert Bus.
No, you can't.
Phoenix Melior asks, we have our favorite Desert Bus moments. What was yours? Shoot, there's so many.
There was something near the very beginning during my shift that broke me, and I don't remember what it was now. Huh.
It's amazing how your mind doesn't remember those things.
My favorite moments were the ice cream cord.
Those
mashups.
were amazing.
Those were fun.
I'm sad I missed the first two. I have to watch the videos.
The one that happened, I noticed the one that happened near the end of the run. We did one that morning during Dawn Guard of the same day. It was basically the same thing. Like it was. I was downstairs downstairs watching, being like, they're all picking the same songs that we sung earlier this morning, which I thought was kind of funny.
Beach said he switched up the chords for that one though.
Oh, okay. I always enjoyed coming in and singing both the good version and the bad version of Dawn Guard. That was always fun. Yeah, Paul's off camera, throwing up the Dawn Guard fists.
Something I obviously was very pleased with how I was able to execute my entrance.
Yeah, the entrance was your entrance was good.
Because there's a question later on. As few people as possible knew what was going to happen. Because I had Ash and Ben sneak in the
air blowers,
the fans covered in like a garbage bag, so that even people in the room didn't know what was going to happen.
Right.
So it was them and Johnny and like one or two other people.
Nice.
Just out of necessity, which is why it scared the crap out of Kara. But also something that amused me, just because it was so weird, was when Beej would start Zeta Shift and be like, well, it's time for Zeta Shift. You know what that means? Let's rotate the cushions.
Yeah.
And they would just move the cushions around on the couch randomly for no reason and for no benefit.
Yeah.
Why not?
Ian's entrance was probably up there for me.
Well, that's what made me feel like I had to step up.
Yeah, I feel like, I felt like the bar was set. Ian set the bar incredibly high there. I mean, he shaved his entire head and painted himself and chromed himself, and it was insane. And we've said this before, and I've said it a few times at Desert Bus. Until he opened his mouth, I had no idea who that dude was who walked in. Like, when he walked in painted out as Warboy, I was like, who's that dude?
Everyone's like, who invited Powder?
Yeah. Why is he here? And then he opened his mouth and out came Ian, and I was like, oh my God.
Well, when I saw him and heard his voice, the first thought that sprang into my head was Ian's rolled an alt. Right? And I was like, wait, that's not right.
That's not real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up, brain? And it's like, well, he's on an alt.
Oh, that's amazing. Also, hitting 3 million was pretty fun. Singing All Star and bouncing around our 3 balloons.
I think challenge-wise, my favorites that I was involved in was they're basically mashup challenges. Turns out I really enjoy those. Myself and Ian reciting the plot to the movie Shrek to the tune of All Star.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Which was very weird. And then at the beginning of my shift, reading the prologue to Destiny as the priest from Princess Bride.
Oh, nice. I like that.
And then came the Traveler. And you become legend.
Were either of you there for 99 bottles of beer on the wall?
Yeah, I was downstairs.
Yeah, that was kind of fun.
I tried not to be involved in that.
That was 14 minutes of interesting. That was like 14 minutes of my life I will never get back.
I was like, why is this happening? And someone's like, well, Penn told us to. And I was like, oh, okay.
He challenged us, so
Fair
it was
enough.
fair. I didn't think we were actually going to do it, and then it just kept kind of going. And I was like, all right.
It's like, okay, guys,
we're
seriously,
all the way there.
We're going to stop this. No? Oh, okay.
Okay, I guess. Yeah.
Surge was actually downstairs corralling other people to cycle out.
Yeah, he was wanting to cycle people out. Nobody really listened to him, though.
No.
Everybody just in the room sang. It was pretty fun.
Because he was worried about people losing their voice.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Devin asks, how did you guys meet the extended Desert Bus cast, like Johnny, Ashton, etc.? The meeting is maybe would be too
That's
deep of a cut.
deep of a
But
cut.
the follow-up is, and how did you ever convince them to join you? And literally, didn't everyone just be like, yo, I need to help you with this, because this aspect of your stuff is messed.
I think the only person...
Yeah, pities.
I feel like the only person who I actively went out and asked to be a part of sort of the like official like 18-person strong now organizing crew is Tara.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
say.
Tara is the latest and probably the last addition. I don't expect us to grow anymore at this point. And she was somebody who I actively actually had a conversation with, and it was like, hey, do you want to come down and do handle all the press and stuff like that? And she agreed to do that. So everybody else has been around since, honestly, like some of them, like Ashton's been around since year one.
Ashton?
Yep, he was there at year one.
Yeah, but he didn't start.
He didn't do anything, but they've all been around Desert Bus since almost the very first couple years.
Yeah.
That they've always been at least a part of it in some way. They would come by and they would help out and they would, dance and act silly on camera, but then they would go home. But
I don't think it was until
it was like
I don't think it was until Desert Bus 4, which would be the first one here.
Yeah.
Where Johnny was like,
yeah.
I need to help you with your video stuff because
Yeah.
it needs improvement.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
was that Ashton's first one or was that 5? Or he started building the whole back end?
Feel like he started building the back end in 5. I think we still just use like Google spreadsheets in Desert Bus 4.
Yeah.
The first real like solid Desert Bus with like the organizing committee as it's known today was I think 5. 4 was kind of the catalyst.
Yeah.
4, I look at Desert Bus actually kind of for me follows the same life cycle that Loading Ready Run kind of did, where for the first couple of years it was kind of just this thing that happened with a group of people who weren't really necessarily like a solidified team, and then something happened, and for Loading Ready Run it was Loading Ready Live that sort of formed us as this 8-person team. And I think for Desert Bus it was Desert Bus 4 when everyone was like, all right, let's actually sit down and plan this thing out ahead of time and not just sort of a couple weeks beforehand throw everything together.
Nick asks, the dimensions of the TV screen the driver is using to monitor the chat while playing Desert Bus. How big is it's this one? How big is it? It's the TV sitting behind us.
Yeah, it's literally the TV sitting behind us, but we just turn it the other way around. I assume it's I don't know.
That big. There you go.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Banana for scale.
Bone Dwarf is asking, did anyone, because we mentioned this, did anyone other than Ian know he was going to shave himself, or was it a total surprise? Ian, Corey, and Ben.
And yeah,
Because Ben was staying with them. Ben Engineering.
that's it.
That's it. What are the chances of actually getting a Desert Bus South? No.
Never.
None.
Well, no, I actually, I think I announced that I will do my damnedest to look for a site next year that is geographically south of where we were this year.
Yep.
And we can officially call it Desert Bus South. It can be a block. Like, actually, if we went back to where we did Desert Bus 8,
Yeah, that's on the other side of the
that
street.
is south of where we were.
Correct.
True. Are you happy?
Happy Mikey. Is Desert Bus the reason there was no Friday nights this month? Yeah. Or do you guys not are you not doing those anymore? I hope that's a joke. If you go to is it LRR or is it Loading Ready Run?
I don't actually remember.
Loading Ready Run.
I think it's Loading
Does
Ready
Loading Ready Run still make Friday nights
.com? It's something like that. The answer is yes.
Yeah. And also, yes, it's because of Desert Bus.
Yeah.
We just don't do one in November because
We're contracted for a certain amount every year.
Yeah.
And we just
and we and Wizards know that it won't happen in November.
Yeah.
So Matthew asks, how much do you find yourself going through Video Strike Team clips?
almost zero, to be honest. I will at some point probably go and click through the poster.
That's what he says as well.
Yeah, once Desert Bus is sort of far away enough in my mind that I think I can sit down and actually enjoy them. Which isn't to say if I was to watch them today, I wouldn't enjoy them. I just don't think I'd be able to process them entirely. I need some space between Desert Bus finishing and going to actually watch stuff. The one thing that I do every year is I go and look at Andrew's pictures. That's the one piece of media, because it used to be that after Desert Bus I would go and watch and read everything I could. I would read through I'd read through our Twitter, and I'd go look at our blog and just see what everybody was writing. But there's so much more Desert Bus now these days than there were a couple years ago. Like you could theoretically experience Desert Bus entirely through our blog at this point, honestly. Like they're that good that I could go back and just read our blog from the Saturday morning we started till the Friday night we ended, and I could get a pretty good picture of what happened during Desert Bus. So I definitely will just skip that from now on. But yeah, once that poster is out, it's probably already out. It's probably done.
The clickable one?
Clickable poster.
Well, they were working on it during the thing, but
it shifts through.
Mike
right?
had to move stuff around. So,
yeah, so I'll definitely go do that.
I remember him tweeting like the video. The VST is gonna be really upset with me after this poster revision. What prize do you wish you'd won from this year?
Ooh.
I don't know.
Cheeseburger backpack.
Cheeseburger backpack was pretty sweet.
It was really cool.
Um,
Tom Servo
Tom Servo was pretty sweet.
for me.
Obviously,
All that magic.
It'd be cool to win. Yeah, the foil set.
The foil
of-
Zendikar set.
The foil block of Zendikar.
Yeah.
That would have been pretty insane. There's a lot of really cool, a lot of really great stuff from the craft along, as always. It's including the cheeseburger packback, which is just incredible. But there's a lot of really cool stuff that goes through. There was a lot of cool stuff that I didn't even know existed until it was like, hey, we're giving this away. And I'm like, what?
I also, because I do a lot of the receiving of shipments, and I didn't know about the Steven Universe. I basically didn't know anything about Steven Universe at the time.
Right.
I picked up a lot more through osmosis, and I do intend to watch it myself. But I was like, what is this? It's a cheeseburger backpack.
Yeah.
Because that's clearly what it was.
I don't get it.
And I'm like, oh, this is neat.
Yeah.
I was like, this is amazingly well made.
It's also
Okay.
It's a thing that existed. It shows up in one episode, right?
Yeah.
It's never shown again, is it, Cam?
No, he always uses it.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah, he uses it when he's packing to go over to Connie's or to
Maybe I'm just completely
like when they're
unobservant.
evacuated that one time.
But it never really gets mentioned again, except for that one episode. But people really like Cheeseburger Backpack.
It's a recurring character.
It's got a good chant.
It does.
So Foxmar is asking about my entrance, which we talked about. Will the Dogeman return? So
just don't say his name.
Yeah.
Well, don't say it 3 times. Because we said beforehand that the Quirp line that we did at Desert Bus was non-canon, and the only reason that we said that is because we now have a canon, and we didn't want to, because even though Quirp line is not normally scripted and we make it up at the time, it's not like straight improv, and we didn't want to accidentally get locked into doing something that was literally made up off the cuff.
Yeah, then you wind up in like Star Trek Into Darkness, right? With your universe all borked up.
Yeah. But definitely there are aspects of that episode that we could very well use in a real episode. And, maybe Innsbruck's famous cryptid, the Dogeman, will return. Who knows? Addison has a question primarily for James, I think. What kind of process goes into driver and shift organization?
For driver, there isn't too there's a couple different schedules for Desert Bus. There's the co-pilot shift, which is sort of the more important one, and that's kind of why we created the 4 different shifts this year. We have Dawn Guard and Alpha Flight, Night Watch, and Zeta, and those actually fell between 6 a.m., 12 p.m., 12 p.m., 6 p.m., 6 p.m., 12 a.m., 12 a.m., 6 a.m. So everybody kind of had their 6 hours where they were supposed to be there, and were supposed to be on camera, and we're basically supposed to be running the show. And then your driver shift kind of, as best I could, would try to fall somewhere in line with your co-pilot shifts. Sometimes it didn't work. There was a couple people who kind of had to suck it up. Johnny was one, Matt was one, Paul was one, where it's just not feasible to get everybody in exactly the same position. But co-pilot shifts are probably the more important shift. Gives those 6 hours of time stability. It's just like, that between 6 and 9 a.m. myself and Paul were going to be on camera, and then from like 9 until noon, Ashton and Kara would show up, and they would be on camera as much as they could, and then Alpha Flight would show up, and that was like Tally and Jer and Liz and Johnny, and they would fly in and call about, and they would work for 6 hours, and then Night Watch would switch over, and this year it was great because we had Cam, who would actually float throughout the drive, which was super useful because he helped out over a couple of those periods where where a driver needed to be driving, but normally it would have been their co-pilot shift, so you lost a person off camera, so that's where Cam came in. That's why Cameron,
that was exciting.
That's why Cameron is dead.
Hilarious sleep schedules.
Yeah, I think there was one day where I did Zeta, got a message from Tally when I woke up asking if I could come in to do a challenge. The challenge didn't happen. So I went home at like, I woke up, I did Zeta, slept for 5 or 6 hours, woke up.
Around like noon at that point?
Yeah, even later I think because I didn't get away.
Right.
Basically had to stay up until Night Watch, come in for Night Watch, didn't get the challenge done, went home, tried to sleep during my normal scheduled shift, then had to come in for the next day's Alpha Flight.
Yeah, like I know I didn't give you any Dawn Guard.
Yeah.
On like I was specifically was like, you just aren't going to get a Dawn Guard.
Yeah.
Which was fine because we didn't ever really need somebody to. It was a little slow on the Friday,
right?
Because Paul obviously slept in, so I showed up Friday morning by myself as the lone Dawn Guard person. At which point I just declared Dawn Guard dead.
Yeah.
It
Dawn
was
Guard had
times.
fallen.
2 hours later, I had some coffee, felt a lot better, and brought Dawn Guard back to life. But it's a complicated scheduling system. I hope to improve on it next year.
But it is a system.
It is, yeah. There is
system.
definitely a system. And we need that, right? I said this in like literally every interview. I don't think our show would be good if everybody was just coming in whenever the hell they wanted to.
No.
Because everybody would A, stay way too long, and B, nobody would come in between the hours of like 4 a.m. and 4 p.m.
That's been the problem we've had before.
Because none of us are really morning people.
Well, 4 a.m. and say, like, it used to be that like the absolute death hours were sort of like 3 a.m. to 8 a.m.
Yeah, even till noon is kind of hard sometimes.
It's just such a contrast between like I'm remembering when Desert Bus was here at the Moonbase for like 6 and 7. Like even the most recent ones, you'd have like 20 people here in the evening, and then there was a morning where it was like you and Adam and Paul.
Yeah, and that was it. Yeah,
and not even that's the only people on camera. It's like that's the only people in the building.
Yeah. now there's definitely like there's always. I would say there was never less than like 8 people in the building, just because of the way that we've like. Because I schedule co-pilots and drivers, but then there's also the schedule for shippers. There's the schedule for social media, for tech, for just site volunteers,
for the blogger,
and for the blogger. Like there's always about 6 or 7 people actually working at any given time, and a couple more people on camera. So yeah, it's complicated. There's a lot to it, but
Jack Slack asks, this is deep. What did you learn about yourselves this Desert Bus?
What did I learn about myself this Desert Bus?
I really like to entertain people. that's a big part of obviously why I do all the stuff that I do. And I am frustrated when I can't, which is sort of where I found myself this year because, as has been mentioned, I have a tiny baby human now who at the time of Desert Bus was
a week old.
And so I was scheduled for night watch from 6 p.m. to midnight. And that's basically all the time that I was there. I was there for that. And then my driving shift was 6 p.m. to
2 a.m.
Until 2 a.m. Thank you, by the way, for giving me a consistent schedule there. And so ordinarily, at any other Desert Bus, my schedule would be, I have to be there from 6 to midnight. I would probably have rolled in around...
Like, you normally roll in around like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I was going to say like 2 or 3 in the afternoon and stay until, honestly, 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be around for a lot of the time. When I'm in the co-pilot chair, I don't get to do as many challenges because I have to keep knowing when the next challenge is going to be happening for other people to keep the entertainment going. So I'm doing more admin stuff. And, I would occasionally be like, oh, here's a challenge I can do. Let's do this. But in previous years, the challenges where I've gone most outside my comfort zone is generally Jer, but usually when there's someone else in the seat being like, Graham, you do this. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. But I'm not going to do that to myself.
No.
Because I have to sort of keep that kind of thing rolling. And that was weird and different. And so that was,
next year
I still had a great time.
Tiny human will be a year old.
Exactly.
So you can leave her home alone a lot easier. Just give her
give her a Subway gift card and she'll be fine.
By that time, the cats should at least know how to change a diaper. So
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
If not, you kick them out because that's just downright disrespectful.
Well, she'll have been Penelope will have a job by then.
I was
right?
going to say,
like,
got to start paying her a portion of the rent.
Yeah, or move out, right? Like, hit the bricks, kid.
Yeah, bootstraps, etc.
Cam, did you learn anything about yourself?
I think the thing I learned about myself is that I am not getting any younger.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And like, I was wrecked about 3 days into Desert Bus.
Sleep deprivation's a hell of a thing.
Yeah, like when I was younger, I could do all-nighters, no problem.
yeah.
Like when I was 19, 20,
Hell yeah.
21, even up until like my mid to late 20s, I could do an all-nighter.
I tried that once as a thing. I was on like a 48-hour sleep cycle for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't sleep, and then I'd sleep like 12 hours in a shot, and then stay up for another.
Yeah. And
for the record, I gave up on that because I realized I actually enjoy sleep.
yeah, it's good for you, as it turns out.
It's pretty sweet.
It's necessary for life.
So when I am now sleep deprived, I do not have the elasticity of mind or the capacity, like the energy reserves to push through, and it rapidly degrades my ability to brain things.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe a day.
Yeah,
You can be sleep deprived for a day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
for a
not
week
for
it's
a
hard.
week.
Yeah, like the amount of time where I'm usefully loopy or entertainingly loopy is very slender now.
And that's a
and-
reason for the schedules too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And unfortunately, you got kind of stuck with the jumping around a lot, but
you sign up for it.
and hopefully next year we can make that better. But
Yeah, like I can't begrudge anyone for that. I said yes.
yeah,
Right. I was like, yeah, sure, I'm available whenever you need me. But the thing that I found affected it the most is that, I don't know how accurate this is, but the idea that, extroverts get energy from being in social situations while introverts expend energy in
Right.
that situation.
Yeah.
I suppose it's the theory and it's accurate in as much as it models anything. But I was really feeling that at Desert Bus this year, where being on camera in a room full of people
Just was draining.
Was draining.
yep.
I can see that.
Mine was definitely I'll take the age thing and go with the other direction, which is you went with mind. I'll go with body. My knees are so sore still from just jumping around, dancing, and doing whatever on the basically concrete floor.
Yeah.
Right.
There was carpet there, but there was nothing underneath the carpet. It wasn't padded or anything.
All those high kicks.
Yeah, there was nothing under there to really, suck up any of the impact
Next year we should
that my knees
do the
and my
whole
feet were
floor
taking.
in that sort of like you have to stand all day at a ticket counter.
Yeah, just like
pad,
an
like
inch
just-
of foam pad everywhere.
yeah.
That would be enjoyable.
How about Desert Bus 10 in a ball pit?
We were joking. I think we were joking about in one of the foam ball pits, like
Yes.
those like cubes of foam.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Or just in a padded room, like a padded cell.
That's
And
a
then
little on the nose.
at the end, they can lock the door and just bar it.
Yeah. Congratulations, you raised a lot of money. It's over.
Yeah.
Chunk. You guys can stay in there. All right, what's next?
Jim asks, why didn't anyone get taken to the gay bar this year? Did it never happen?
No,
I guess it
don't
didn't
think so.
happen.
I definitely saw a couple challenges come in for it, but they didn't like work. Right? There was like take the giant plush dick butt to the gay bar, and it's like,
No, I mean,
and then, so I just didn't.
We've talked about memes having their shelf life at Desert
Gay bar's
Bus.
been around for a while.
Gay bar has been around
To be
for
fair,
a very
the
long time.
only reason it happened last year is because it was Tara's first year, and she had no idea what it was.
Yeah, and
That's the only reason.
and
it
because
happened
we
at
were able to put
8.
kind of a much different spin on it.
Exactly.
Right. Whereas
Even before that, it was definitely on the decline.
yeah,
Like,
it was just like, all right, Matt's dressed up and he's dancing and shimmying about.
Desert
All
Bus.
right.
So that was 8. The one at 7 was different because that was Ian. I think it was. Was it
Ian and
Jer?
Dix took me to the gay bar.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But like went full tilt with the costumes.
Yeah.
So I just think what it was is that there was nowhere for us to take it.
Yep.
There was nowhere. There's nothing new for us to do with it.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Which actually, this kind of leads into a question from Sakurazaki, which is, which are more memorable or enjoyable, the insane spur of the moment challenges or the yearly traditions? And that varies. I think.
I mean, yeah, I think it varies. Like,
Oh, I think the spur of the moment ones.
yeah, well, I mean,
every yearly tradition, not every, most yearly traditions started as a spur of the moment thing.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
but the thing is that the yearly traditions, like, I'll remember the spur of the moment things for the couple weeks after Desert Bus much better than I'll remember the yearly traditions. Whereas if you ask me about Desert Bus in 6 months, I'll probably be able to easily talk about some of the things that we do every year that always, is super enjoyable to do.
Yeah. Like, I like to do new stuff, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I always do the Galaxy song. Paul always does Gypsy Rover, but which is great. Like we like those. We've gotten good at them. But I had more fun this year, for example, like I said, doing the Destiny thing or the Smash Mouth Shrek thing or the
Yeah.
ice cream chords. That was awesome. That will come back, I'm positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you thinking about planning the new driver entrances ahead of time next year just so the transition is smoother? Asks Jacob. I think part of the honestly. So, not that everyone involved in Desert Bus would consider themselves comedians, but there's the sort of the cliche of when comedians hang around, they're just trying to make each other laugh,
Right.
Like, honestly, I think a big part of the entrances is getting a reaction out of the other people in the room.
Oh, yeah.
Less than it is.
Well, you're also gonna feed off that reaction much better than you are a scrolling chat,
which is
being
which is on a 20-second delay.
"Ooh," yeah.
Like, obviously, like that's why I hid the Tube Man thing. Obviously, for you watching at home, but I mostly wanted to surprise people who were there.
Yeah, exactly. I could see us. I mean, I think that'll be a topic of conversation when we start talking about next year. Is entrances, and if we want to start allowing for a little bit more time to
More
let
of
those
like,
happen.
It's 6 p.m. Hold everything. It's this person's time now.
Yeah, or just really quickly tie up what you're doing, and maybe even like throw the thing on autopilot for a minute.
Yeah.
And let this entrance happen if that's what people want to do. Because I'm super down with it. But, some people obviously took it to a whole other level this year. And if we want to keep doing
And you
that.
don't get to do an entrance because you start.
No, I start.
So
Although,
we could build that in next year.
what we need to do is just make about $100,000 more dollars. And then I can have this massive entrance
When you
for
drive
a
a game.
1 hour shift.
Yeah.
Because I'm probably only going to drive for like an hour.
Did you do anything special this year? No.
I don't remember. I'm going to say no.
All right. what are your post Desert Bus recovery techniques? Because I can't imagine life goes right back to normal immediately.
Yes, it does.
And then, I was going to say, it kind of does. That's from Sosa. And there's another question from Michael that's how long does it take you personally and professionally to recover from Desert Bus? Personally, it's just not being in a room full of people for a day.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, your circumstances this year is much different than most, right?
Yeah.
Is that
I'm talking in generalities.
Yeah. For me, the thing is that Desert Bus ended at Friday at 1 a.m. Everybody was basically back there the next day at 10 a.m. to clean.
I think it's very, very different for the viewers than it is for us.
Yeah, because we're back there at 10 a.m. to clean. We were there until about 4. Then we all left. Then we all came back at about 7 for a party. We were there till about 1. And then a good number of us were back there on Sunday to clean up after the party and move out the rest of everything that had been left over. And I got home probably around 4 o'clock Sunday night. And then Sunday night, Ashley and I sat there and watched TV for like 6 hours. I went to bed and I woke up at 7:30 and went to work on Monday morning. Then that's it. And I went straight back into this.
I was in here for Checkpoint.
And we went straight back into working on this. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on around here in the next couple months. So yeah, it's definitely not. I get to take a whole week off or something after Desert Bus. It's back into normal life real quick.
I mean, I think it also affects the volunteers we have, because I've seen people talking on Twitter, it really hit me, the post Desert Bus, not seeing everyone, and I'm speaking only for me. I assume for James, Cam, I don't have a good read on you for this particular topic, but that doesn't happen, I don't think, because we always see each other.
Yeah.
And even for the organizing committee that's out of town, we've been seeing each other more frequently leading up to it. We've been meeting since March.
Yeah.
And so it's like, for me, it's like, great Desert Bus, everybody. That was sweet.
Yeah.
It's not like, man, that was a week of all at once. It feels way different for us than it clearly does for you.
And we know we'll be back.
Yeah.
So, all right.
In terms of professionally recovering from Desert Bus, we just put the podcast set together just
Today.
now.
Yeah.
Just before the Moonbase is always a complete. You'll have to give me this one. It's a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
After Desert Bus, it is a mess, and we have to get it all back together and ramping back into doing the streaming and the various series.
Because we have had to, we have to cannibalize everything in here. So finding chords.
It's not even.
Again,
it's gotten
ordeal.
better in terms of cannibalize. Like last year, we tore down the streaming office. This year, we didn't, which was really nice. And we didn't even have to really tear down this. What really, and you'll have to give me this, fucked us up on this one was the flood.
Yeah.
The flood was so poorly timed.
Thank God we weren't doing it here.
Oh my God! If the flood honestly would have just happened, this week, I would have been like, of course. But at least Desert Bus would have been done. Having to deal with a flood just 2 weeks before Desert Bus was
we had to
come on.
I didn't read it right away, but you had to get emergency help from the nearby people to be like, come here and help me move prizes
moved,
now.
Yeah, we moved every single prize upstairs, and it was a whole thing. So, all right, what else we got?
Sam asks, who do you think doesn't get enough credit for their work at Desert Bus, and why?
I'd like to think that everybody gets their dues, especially when we thank everybody. At the end of Desert Bus.
We really try to cover that, but
that's probably actually a blind spot.
For
the people on camera,
because we know who's doing everything and who's doing all these jobs, and you don't. I mean, what's happening off camera? There's all the shipping volunteers that are sending out the packages as soon as they're
basically
happening.
given away. Yeah.
There's the back end tech who's making sure that when we run a live auction that all is working automatically and getting the information to the shipping volunteers. There's Ash and Surge, the site managers, who are keeping things running downstairs, or actually everywhere, because during the run, their job is hey, this thing is going wrong, and then they have to actually be like, oh, you need to talk to this person and like manage all of that.
I mean, I highly encourage you, if you didn't see the end of Desert Bus,
please watch the thank yous.
Go and watch the thank yous, because we easily thank probably close to 100 people, including, the organizing committee and the volunteer staff and all of our sponsors, and like the number of people that actually make Desert Bus what it is. It actually reaches into the hundreds at this point, if you take into fact all the crafters, all the people we talk to for corporate sponsorships, all the people who we talk to for interviews and articles that they write about us and get the word out. Like, there are literally hundreds of people, and we did our best to thank everybody at the end. So definitely go check that out, because every single one of them deserves just as much praise as anybody else. So,
did you reek? Did you reach? We did not reek, actually, by the way. That room was very well ventilated, and everyone did a great job, and nothing smelled.
Yeah.
Straight up.
It smelled like raspberries all week.
Straight up, there was no problems smell-wise.
No.
Grapefruit.
Did you reach peak bus this year, and if so, and when did you realize it? For those who are unaware, peak bus is the term we've used in the past for when you are, I think the best one was basically that you're at home, in bed, you say you're in your underwear, and you wake up and you're like, oh, I can't get out of bed because then the chat will see me in my underwear.
Yeah.
Like when you're just sort of, you don't have this like firm grasp of where you are, that you're not being watched or whatever.
Yeah. No, I haven't hit peak bus for a couple of years at this point.
You got a groove on?
Yeah, I've never reached the point where I'm at home and I worry. I don't think I've ever hit that point at home.
Did you have
at
Desert Bus
least.
dreams?
Yeah, I definitely have Desert Bus dreams. The week leading up to and the week after, I definitely have dreams. They're very drastically different dreams. The week leading up to, I have a lot of dreams about Desert Bus completely failing. And then the week after Desert Bus, it's dreams that make me think that Desert Bus is still going.
Oh God,
that's
the worst.
Which are kind of worst. And during the run, I don't remember my dreams at all. I'm just so
I
tired.
don't remember my dreams to begin with. Peak bus, I don't know that I've ever had that quite level of an experience, but I have had just a very dissociative sense.
I had only one thing this year, which was Kathleen was waking me up, and I was super groggy and out of it. I didn't fall asleep well the night before after my co-pilot shift, and she was asking me something to do with the Desert Bus banners, like the shift banners that we'd printed out. She was asking me something about a problem that needed fixing or whatever, and I was like, I don't have to deal with this right now. I need to get more sleep. She was actually asking me to help change the baby. So my response maybe didn't fly as well as it could have. But she was like, what? And I'm like, wait, what did you actually ask me to change the baby? Oh,
that I'll do.
No, I can do that. And I got up and it was, it was totally fine. But she's like, what was that? You like, and I was like, no, I swear, I thought you were asking me something about the Desert Bus banners. Super out of it.
Oh dear.
I'm going to save that one for the end, which will be pretty soon, 10, 15 minutes or so, to bring it up to around about an hour. Thanks, Jason. John Cena was a good companion this year. Is John Cena still around? Any John Cena stories? John Cena, hashtag John Cena.
Nope, he left.
Yeah, no, got him out of the building.
John
he
Cena,
was shipped
that
off.
definitely feels like it burned bright and will never come back.
Yep.
It burned so bright,
It
though.
burned very bright, but I
When-
can't see it
When Ian and
coming
Corey
back
started
up.
adding different names to the...
That was pretty incredible.
Oh, God, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
And that all happened during the thing, so
Yep.
there you go. Did you find the smaller room better or worse?
Okay, it was better and worse. It was better because with fewer people on camera, it looked not as barren. In Desert Bus 8, if you go back and you watch some videos where there's like say like 6 or 7 people on camera, like you have a co-pilot, a driver, and maybe say like 5 people on the couches in the back. If you had 7 people on camera in Desert Bus 8, that place looked completely empty. When you had 7 people this year on camera, it looked really good. You had like a couple, like 3 people on one couch, 2 people on another couch, and the driver and the co-pilot, and it looked great. And I don't think we were too hindered by the performance area.
No.
I think it could have stood to be a little bit bigger,
little wider.
but only by maybe a couple of feet.
I think the only I'd say real negative, because like the width was like could have been better. The only real negative was because of the setup of the room and because of the width of it. We had to have it such that people entered between
that's what I was going to say.
the co-pilot and the camera.
The bad part was that entrance. The only way to get in, last year you were able to go around the command center, and that way there was a whole bunch of space where you could sort of hang off camera. Another thing that this year forced us to do, which I at first was kind of worried about, but actually in the end I really liked, was we weren't able to keep props and costumes in the room with us. And the reason I really liked the fact that they were in a separate room is that it kept the room a lot cleaner, because it meant
Random hats.
It meant that you could run out and you could get changed and you could put on your hat or your costume and come in and do your bit and take them off and kind of just throw them back into that room. And the volunteers would take care of keeping that room reasonably organized when it came to hats and costumes. Like it wasn't ever just all of the costumes on a big pile on the floor, which is kind of what happened at Desert Bus 8. Because it was a lot harder for our volunteers to run in and clean the props and costumes at 8, because they were off camera-ish, but they were certainly on camera enough that it would have been pretty loud for them to be cleaning everything up. So in that sense, I really liked it. The other issue was we could have probably stood for a little bit more room for all the behind-the-scenes stuff. We had like engineering, and we had Ashton and Kara and her blog and Twitter team. And Andrew, the photographer, was in there as well. So I think a little bit more room to give them a bit more space. But overall, I think we kind of need to find next year a sort of a happy medium between what we had this year and what we had at Desert Bus 8. And I'd be really happy. Also carpeted with nice padding on it.
Yes, please. The official shift names were a new thing this year. Who were officially on which shift and who joined during the run? I'm not quite sure what that question actually means. This is from Johannes.
I mean, officially, myself, Paul, Kara, Ashton were Dawn Guard.
Right.
Kara and Ashton joined at 9 o'clock, not 6 a.m.
Let's talk on camera, because the off camera people had their own sort of shifts as well.
Yeah, I assume they're talking about on camera people.
Right, yeah.
And I consider Kara and Ashton were on camera between 9 and noon, or 9 and noon.
Never watched
9 and noon when we actually needed them. Like they were doing both, but they were on camera. Kara more so than Ashton.
So Alpha Flight was
Liz, Johnny, Jer, Tally.
Yeah.
Alpha Flight or Night Watch was yourself, Matt, and Ian. Officially.
Yeah.
And then Zeta officially was Alex and Beach.
Just Alex and Beach.
Just Alex and Beach. And then
so
Cam,
anyone else you saw, like, obviously we mentioned Cam was floating.
And then Cam kind of, where would you put yourself, Cam? Would you consider yourself
Mainly
more Zeta?
Yeah.
You did, I think you did more Zeta shifts than you did anything
else.
Yeah,
I did 4 Zeta shifts.
Yeah.
And like Andy, when he was around and was just sort of around, Lily came and hang out as well.
Although
so there was definitely people.
Yeah.
Basically, anyone that we didn't mention wasn't like officially on a shift.
They didn't have to be. They weren't scheduled to be there, and we're not going to tell them. Like, if friends come in from out of town, we're not going to say, "Well, it'd be cool if you could be here at like 6 a.m. when we need a lot of people," because that's not fair. They're allowed to show up whenever they want. So,
wasn't able to watch the stream due to no internet. But curious, do any of you guys suffer side effects like getting sick?
A lot of people got sick this year. Yeah. More than
usual.
I think more than usual. I felt really good for the first 2 days after, and then I developed a bit of a head cold. And I feel fine. Like it's just a cold, like whatever. I feel like some people might have gotten more sick, or They just whine a lot over Twitter, which also could be the case. Sorry if you're watching this. I love you all.
We're just erasing your illness.
Yeah, exactly.
We think you're
Well, I
faking.
mean, especially Matt, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that
they
guy,
also could
yeah.
have gotten just like not that sick necessarily, but also be exhausted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the bigger thing.
Which
is
I
that
guess just means you're more sick.
you
I
get
guess that's
sick
the same thing.
and you're just tired. So.
Yeah.
But a lot of people definitely got sick.
All right, second last, the penultimate question. Who would your dream guest call-in be?
Dream guest call-in
Well, call-in or live.
or live guest?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we've thrown around really big names that we've never really been able to get before, and I'm okay with that. I was super happy to get
LeVar Burton?
LeVar Burton.
Yeah.
The LeVar Burton call was
so bummed I wasn't even awake
Yeah.
for
The LeVar Burton. Have you watched it?
No.
It was phenomenal. It was a really good call. And that was kind of a sketchy call. We weren't 100% sure how it was going to go, but it went really, really well.
Because that was, for those who don't know, that was Lord Hosk set that up for us, right?
Yeah, and it was supposed to be like
he backed on the Reading Rainbow Kickstarter at the tier where you get to have a phone conversation with LeVar Burton.
Yeah.
And then he sort of gifted it to us, which was amazing. But from LeVar Burton's people, not LeVar Burton personally, but from his people, they were like, that's not really what we were doing.
Yeah.
And so getting the logistics set up that it had to be like at a specific time and for maybe longer than the Kickstarter thing was planning was just sort of like logistically
Yeah.
very challenging. But it all worked.
Yeah,
it was great.
going in, it was kind of a question mark, but it turned out to be a really great call. I was really happy to get.
So props to LeVar Burton and his
yeah.
team and Lord Hosk.
I was super happy to get like Michael Stevens this year from Vsauce. I'm a huge fan of that guy and what he does. So that was super cool.
Knowing you, I'm surprised you haven't pushed for getting one or both of the greens.
I tried.
Well,
They could not do it this year.
darn.
Hopefully next year I can get at least. I would like to at least get Hank. I think that'd be a lot of fun, or both, whatever. I would not say no to the Green Brothers.
I really want like it's not practical at all because they're so busy, and frankly, they're especially the personality wise would just sort of take over. But I'd love for Penn and Teller to
actually come up.
play the damn thing.
Yeah, I would. I think that would be pretty cool if they were to come up. I've always thought it would be pretty cool if we could get Mike and Jerry up here. We always have a pretty sweet contingent from PA with Robert and Kristen and Jamie, and this year we had Eric up. Basically, throughout the whole run, there was always somebody from Penny Arcade around, which is really sweet.
Well, Penny Arcade or Child's Play.
Or Child's Play. Yeah. But getting Mike and Jerry up would be kind of cool. I mean, for at least in-person guests, I would rather just people I kind of know and people we're sure are going to be fun to hang out with. It's just like, man, wouldn't it be sweet if Patrick Stewart came up and hung out with us for a bit? But
I'd be
how
so
would that-
awkward all the time.
I'm so embarrassed.
How would that actually work? I have no idea.
Yeah.
That could
I'd
be
be
really
like,
bad.
Can I get you anything?
Would you like
to
some
drink?
tea?
Oh
God.
Would you like some tea? Oh God, no, I didn't mean.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I wasn't trying to do.
He just rolls his eyes and he's like, "No, it's okay.
Yeah.
it's okay."
Take Patrick Stewart to the store. No.
No.
This man is a knight. Oh, okay.
There's a lot of people. But
All right. And
final question.
final question. This is a big one. This was quite real to us for a little while. Do you think Desert Bus will ever plateau?
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it has to.
It has to at some point.
At a certain point, we start reaching money that is like outside the realm of existing.
I mean,
At what was it? At like 6 p.m. on Friday.
Yeah.
We were like,
this is it.
all right, this is the year that we don't.
Yeah,
this is
that
the
we
year
don't
that
break-
not
yeah.
going to clear last
and
year.
that's fine. That's
Yeah.
that's the big thing is you may have seen me doing it on camera when people in the chat were like, guys, we're hitting the
graph
we're
from
hitting the
last year.
graph, we're crossing the graph. Oh no, we're now behind last year. And it's like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Eventually, like it has to happen eventually. Maybe it's this year, and then we're only
Yeah, raising $500,000.
$400,000,
Yeah.
$500,000.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I mean, I think a lot of people got.
I know it's like, hey, we all play games too. We all love to beat the high score.
Yeah.
I get that. And
Yeah.
shooting for a goal is sweet. But I'm just worried that the year that it happens, some people will see it as some kind of failure when
Yeah.
it is not.
It's just clearly
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people got pretty excited with this year because of our incredibly strong start.
It was a strong start.
And,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you why it was a stronger start. I think I know why it was a stronger start. We started on the weekend.
Yeah.
We started on a Saturday. We had more people watching us start this year than we ever had before.
I think also Tara did a lot of work to get word out in advance.
Yep.
Because it's real easy to get press during the run, but it's not great.
No,
it's very
it's
hard to
hard to
get
do it
press
before.
at the beginning. It's actually even easier to get it after
After.
it's over, which is so dumb.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, sooner or later we're going to hit it. Obviously, it would be nice, especially with next year being 10, that next year isn't that year. It would be nice for 10, the big 10 year to hit an even bigger number. But certainly at some point we have to hit a plateau. I mean, just simply it's getting to a point where it's really hard to push it that much further time-wise just because of the formula that we use.
Which is, I think, a strong formula still.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's the reason that we adopted the formula. The problem is that we ended this year with about $40,000 or $50,000 more than we did last year, but we only went 1 extra hour.
Yeah.
Right?
That's how it works.
And that's how it
That's
works.
by design.
So the problem is that we need to make just so much more money, but also just a lot. Like, we can't make, if we just kept going, we would probably make $1 million. Like, if we just said Desert Bus is going to be, 8 days, and we're just going to call this an arbitrary 8-day marathon, we could probably make $1 million in those 8 days. But I don't want to do that.
So dead
what-
by the end of
Yeah,
that.
that's
You know
too
what the
long.
easiest way to make $1 million would be? Start counting in Canadian.
I joked about that all during the run. I was
Yeah.
like, if we just counted this in Canadian, we would have made, almost $1 million.
Hey,
So-
I finally got my money from GP Vegas.
Oh, did you?
$140 American.
Sick.
Yeah.
Now the question is that worth more now than it was when you won it?
Probably not.
I don't actually know if the
have
Canadian
no
dollar
idea.
has gotten a little tiny bit stronger or maybe a tiny bit
I
worse.
have no idea. I was just like, why do I have a check from Hasbro? Right.
It's that
Yeah,
took
for
so
day 2.
long.
Yeah.
Apparently, just because of the size of it, it just took
Yeah.
them way longer to fulfill.
That's fair.
Vegas than any
They
other
probably
GP.
cut a lot of checks for that event.
Anyway,
Cool.
Desert Bus. Speaking of cutting checks, $677,000.
No, we're at 681.
Oh,
$680,100 right now.
Wow.
And we still haven't put in posters or books. Wow. So my guess would be that'll go up a couple thousand for sure, once that's done. So we'll be pushing that 685. So good job, guys.
All right.
Thank
yeah.
you.
That's some
the
hustle.
listeners, the viewers.
Yep.
You, as Alex loves to yell accusingly at the camera, you did this. You did this. You. So thank you. And thanks for listening. As always, our podcasts are brought to you also by you. You did this also
God, you guys do a lot.
at Patreon.com.
You should take a break.
Yeah, how do you recover from this?
Just go have a nap.
Yeah, you've earned it. Patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. It supports not only our podcast, but a bunch of other cool stuff. And more fun to come. We'll talk about that more next time. Bye, everybody.